Guess who got featured in Our Homes magazine? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be sharing you the things that I did to get my work recognized by a well-renowned lifestyle and interior design publication. So if this is something that is of interest to you, then definitely keep on watching and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because on this channel, not only do I share behind the scenes of my design work and my design projects, but I also share tips and insights on how you can run a successful interior design business. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we jump into this discussion, I just wanted to make a disclaimer that I am not a public relations expert, so I can't really guarantee that the steps that I took will also have the same results for you. However, I still wanted to share the things that I did that worked for me, and hopefully they will work for you as well. Firstly, I want to distinguish what it means for you to be recognized organically versus what it means for you to reach out to a publication and pay an advertising fee to have your work featured. I'm going to be talking about how it happened to me organically. A really quick recap: there was a specific video on my Instagram page that was trending. So my conclusion is that that reel is what landed on their page, whoever is managing the social media for Our Homes magazine, and therefore they decided to reach out to me via email, and that's how the conversation began. I got a chance to feature my work in 3 issues in the spring, summer, and fall publications. When they reached out to me, they asked if I would be interested in having a 6-page editorial. Of course, anyone would say yes. The only tricky part with this was that even though they reached out to me, they still wanted me to contribute for one of the issues. I paid for a half-page ad. In exchange, they would give me a 6-page editorial for one of the issues for free, as well as a 1-pager spotlight talking about how I got started in this business, also for free. The best part is that I actually got 2 clients from those issues. So overall, I would say it was super worth it for me to even pay for that half-page ad. And also, you're able to identify yourself as someone whose work has been featured by a renowned publication, whether it's in your website description or even on your Instagram biography. This helps to build trust and gives you a level of prestige among prospects who may be considering to hire you for their home. Okay, tip number 1, social media engagement. I know I talk about this all the time, but there's a reason, because it works. If you don't have enough content to post on your grid all the time, that's totally fine. What's more important is that you have some sort of engagement, and you can do that by posting on your stories every day, because the only way that the algorithm is going to refer your work to someone else in the space is if you're active. If you're not active, then why would the algorithm even pick up your content? Make sure you refine your feed so that your best work is presented at all times. The way that you can do that is by pinning some of your reels or your posts that have had the most amount of engagement at the very top. The reason why this is important is because no matter who's coming onto your page for the first time, whether it's a prospect, whether it's a new follower, or whether it's a publication or a magazine, they just want to be able to see something right away that tells them this is your work. Most of the time, they're not going to scroll past your entire page and figure out, oh, maybe this is someone that I want to follow. So pinning your worthy content at the very top is really important. I would also say that the first 6 squares of your Instagram grid, which is something that you see right away when someone visits your page, should always be aesthetically pleasing. The colors should match, the images should speak to each other, and you should be really attentive towards that at all times. Ultimately, our job as designers is to portray ourselves visually in the most beautiful manner. There are a lot of apps that help you organize your visual grid, but the one that I've used since day one is called Planoly. I've linked it in my description box below, so you can definitely check it out, as it is a free app. The other thing I would say is that don't be afraid to post your older content. If you find that some of your older photos did really well and you don't really have anything new to share, just repost that older content, because what happens is throughout the weeks and throughout the months, you gain new followers, and and your new followers may not have seen some of your older work. So you want to keep bringing that up, because while it may be past content for one follower, it may be new content for another follower. And again, it all just helps to bring the engagement up, helps to bring value to your new followers so that they remain followers and don't unfollow you because you're not posting anything insightful for them. The second thing I want to talk about is Reels. And the reason why I'm focusing on Instagram is because, again, from my personal experience, that's how I got recognized. That's what I can talk about the most. If you're someone who's really active on TikTok and you find that the publication in your region or in your area is also active on TikTok, then you focus on that. Or if there's a Facebook or a different form of social media platform, then focus on that. But again, for me, because I got reached out to through Instagram, I'm going to be focusing on that. So remember when Instagram was really pushing for Reels? Well, if you didn't jump on that wagon and made Reels all the time, then you may have a lot of catching up to do. Instagram loves to push video content, and we are seeing that through other forms of platform as well. Even on YouTube, shorts tend to do really well. It's just a reality that short form content does well with audiences rather than longer form content. People are so used to swiping up quickly and they want to get their message within the first 5 seconds and move on to the next video. So I would highly recommend that you focus on making Instagram Reels and make sure that the first 5 to 10 seconds are very appealing and gives the audience the value right away. So I can give you an example on one of my Instagram Reels. I started off with a question on how you can make your house look and feel like a designer space. And then I go on to talk about the 3 really quick ways that you can do that. And I ended up pinning that on my profile. Moving on to the second tip that I would give you. And this is something that I did learn through a public relations seminar that I attended a long time ago. And I thought, you know what, let's try it and see how it works. So there's a thing on Instagram where you can enable notifications for a specific page. So let's say there's a celebrity that you love and you want to stay updated with any time they post something. You can actually go on their page, enable notifications for their stories, for their posts, for their reels. What I would suggest is take a note of 5 to 10 publications, and they don't have to necessarily be magazines. Maybe they're just official pages that like to feature other people's work, or maybe they are podcast hosts and you engage the heck out of them. The reason for that is you want to get recognized by them. So whether it's you commenting on every time they post, whether it's you liking every story that they post, or whether it's you sharing their Instagram Reels on your page and saying, oh, like I really like what they said here. This may take time. Don't expect for instant result. You may need to do this for a couple of months before they recognize you. The reason why I'm saying that is because I did that for one of my favorite furniture stores here in Canada. I used to love shopping there. I don't shop there as much anymore because they've actually closed down a lot of their locations. When I first started on Instagram and I was making a brand and a name for myself, I made sure that I bothered them so much online. Ultimately, they ended up following me back. And that was such a huge win for me because at that time I was still very new in the space and I didn't have too big of a portfolio to show. But you know, what it proved to me was that if you continue engaging with one specific channel or page, sooner or later, they're likely to recognize you. The last bit of tip that I want to share is not so much regarding how to get featured in a magazine. It's just a little nice to have. So when you're taking note of those 5 to 10 pages that I mentioned you want to be recognized by, make sure you also include some of the designers in the space that are well established and ones that you really like and would love to get to know. It's also important that while you're on social media, you try to network with other designers who can provide you with some value when you speak to them. Don't be afraid to send a DM to these designers or these design firms and just introduce yourself. And you don't have to be so pushy and say, oh, can you tell me X, Y, and Z? Because I get that sometimes from people who just reach out to me and just want to get answers to their questions. And I'm like, whatever happened to saying hi, hello, how are you? I don't like it, and I'm pretty sure that other designers who are super busy with projects probably won't like that either. So when you are sending a direct message to these people, just be very courteous, be very kind, and just start off by saying that you are a huge fan and that you really admire their work, and that's it. Just leave it at that and see if they respond back to you. If they do, that's when you can be like, oh, I was wondering if you had any tips for someone who is trying to break into X, Y, and Z, right? That's when you can start the conversation and see if they're willing to share their expertise with you. The reason why I'm sharing that is because I applied this rule and it worked for me. There is a design firm based here in Oakville that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I love every single project that they do. And so I decided to send them a direct message. And I was like, hey, I love your work and I'm new, and following you gives me so much inspiration to continue doing what I'm doing. And that's it. That's all I did. And the lead designer and the owner of that firm reached out to me and we ended up scheduling a coffee chat. I actually met her in person for a coffee. She was really sweet and gracious enough to spare some of her time to me. Just sitting there with her for an hour, soaking up all the information from her was so valuable to me that I walked away feeling like, you know what, I can also become as successful as this person. These things are so helpful for you when you're in this space and sometimes you're feeling a little bit doubtful about your abilities. So my final advice to you would be, don't be afraid to reach out to someone that you admire, and you never know if they will reply back to you and give you some insights. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope that whatever I shared with you was helpful. As always, if you did, please give it a thumbs up because it helps with the algorithm so that I can continue making videos like this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.